amazing to me, because we never have these conversations.
That's exactly where our people are as a whole are right now. The real issue is many of us are disenfranchised. We don't vote, so our voices don't count. They don't. We can't vote. Many of us can't vote, so they don't want to really care what we have to say because it doesn't benefit them. We got to stop putting ourselves in situations where we getting ourselves in the judicial system. I can remember for about a decade, I just couldn't stay out in front of that damn judge. I just got, damn, it's probation, it's parole, it's this, it's that, it's a ticket, it's no driver's license, it's a lot of minor stuff. There's no insurance on my car. It's a simple battery with me and my wife fighting because we ain't got no money and things like that. It's little stuff that keeps us in the judicial system. Child support. All my homeboys grew up on paper. Never got a daggone income tax check. Couldn't vote. Child support. Joker worked 40, 50 hours a week and get a check for $167 because old girl get the check. And all this was designed for a purpose. All this was designed. They could say otherwise, but all of it was designed for a purpose. Because if it was really about the families, if welfare was really about families, if public assistance was really about families, men wouldn't be excluded from that scenario. The fathers would be allowed to live in the house. The fathers would be allowed to live in the house with the woman and his children.
You feel like you're going to be killed by the police or before you're killed by somebody in your community?
No, I never had that fear. I've never had that fear. But I understand, too, the rules of the game. There are no timeouts. If you're out here doing dirt, then you're going to get dirty. You understand? And people lose their life. Once the ball starts rolling down the hill, you don't have no control over where them bullets fly or who gets hit in the retaliation or who kidnapped your cousin or your niece or your homeboy's daughter or things like that. Once you do dirt, then dirt starts to fly, and it lands wherever it lands. Everybody gets dirty. Nobody's clean, So the issue is we got to get our kids, especially our young boys, out the streets and stop doing dirt. Like I said, our biggest lobby is the gang right now. If it ain't you got the church. I think the gang's bigger than the church now. You understand?
So we have to have accountability, and that starts at a local level. That starts, at a state level and federal level, keeping it separate. But remember that we have to vote for people who are going to keep our community safe.
Nationwide war on drugs. There's a nationwide war on drugs. They getting ready to do the same thing with this fentanyl epidemic. They talking about if you said, the only people getting punished are the people, the small time who's selling 2 or 3 little pills. One of the pills happened to be tainted with fentanyl. Okay, and I'm not suggesting that selling pills or anything else, selling any kind of drugs is good, right? And you should get punished for selling some drugs and somebody OD on it. But the issue is we know where the fentanyl is being produced. We know where it's coming from. Why is it still coming across the border? While we're looking at the southern border, all the drugs coming across through Detroit, through Canada, where they always been coming from.
Don't talk about that.
The drugs have always come across the border through Canada. Okay, yeah, you seen the show BMF? When I was growing up, some of the biggest hustlers were Detroit players. The Detroit players, they sing songs about that shit. Detroit players wearing gators. Okay, there's songs been made about this shit. Okay, it's no secret. All the money's coming through Detroit. Okay, because the dope is coming across the Canadian border. Okay, from Canada, from China and the Middle East and places like that. Now we got cartels been put in place. Most of the cocaine and weed used to come from Colombia and Jamaica and places like that. But they stopped them. They cut them out. They knocked them down, and now they got the Mexican cartel running shit, okay? But they all in cahoots. Most of the stuff coming across the southern border is people, okay? That commodity, people coming across the southern border. Human trafficking. You can't get across the northern border. You can't get across the border without a what they call a escort, without a TA card. Or you got to have a card. You understand? We got to have a card to go. You can't just drive across. I would carry stuff all the way to Spokane, Washington, and somebody would meet me at the border and pick it up and take it the rest of the way across the line. Same up in Michigan. Same down in Laredo, Texas. You can't just go across there. Matter of fact, I used to drive to Laredo, unhitch my trailer, and they would take the trailer across sometimes the trailer would be preloaded. I don't even know what's in the back of the trailer, but I could tell is sometimes it'd be more than what they say because they've been calling me ever since I left Pennsylvania, ever since I left Georgia or wherever. Yeah, they got the freight, tracking the freight. Okay, so these are issues that we know. This is no question. I mean, a lot of people don't even know about Oliver North and the Contras and all this kind of thing. That shit just faded away like it was like in thin air. I mean, the man was on national TV, and he admitted that the CIA was selling drugs in the community. Okay, this is in the 90s when the war on drugs was declared. We had a whole generation of black men who go to prison. Either they went to prison, they died, or they got cracked out. Many of the other cultures are not doing that. They're not doing that, okay? The Jews aren't doing that. The Asians aren't doing that.
But they're working for what they have, but they do have communities. The Amish have communities. The Jewish people have
community. They have community. And everybody's not working no 9 to 5 either. Shit, the Amish ain't working on 9 to 5.
A lot of people are entrepreneurs. They're suppliers.
Right. They're building their own. They're building their own.
And
they're developing their own
What
products.
I fear, is that if we don't take it back into our own hands, and sometime soon the government is going to try to start implementing ways in which they foresee that we can benefit, like 15-minute cities, but not the 15-minute cities that are just, the every basic necessity that you need is there in location. But I mean like communist China, where you have scan ID, they scan your facial recognition to get inside, to keep it safe because people can't quit killing people. If we don't have some sort of civil movement here where we, not just as a people, take back our culture in our streets, but as people here, as citizens, period. If we don't start having this, because I'm going to be honest with you, I watch news, I watch all kinds of things. I see a lot of white people killing white people. I've lived in a lot of different places. Idaho, where it's predominantly white people there. When they have killings and stuff like that, it's white on white crime. But they don't label it that in the news.
That's because we have no lobby. We have no lobby. Back to that. We have no lobby. Yep. We have no lobby. Like you see a murder on.
So it's not that we don't have representation or we're not owned because we're American. First of all, we were born here. Even if our parents and forefathers were never slaves here, if we were born here, we're still American, so we would still have these issues. We're born here. This is a modern day era, and if we don't do something to take back our communities, take back our homes, our houses, our families, and fight for a change, we're going to end up in a communist. We're not going to end up back in slavery. Our Constitution protects us from that. So all these people feeling like, we're going to go back. No, we can't. But we can go into communism. There's no Constitution that's protecting these people who we are electing into office from doing their heinous things and creating these loopholes into digging us further and further into that.
I hope that, some of the conversations that Donald Trump had with Johnson, is the name, I forget his first name, Mr. Johnson, the ebony guy, one of the richest men in America. He had it back about a few years ago. They had a conversation to really start discussing the reparations issues, okay, and what it would take. What really, if we did do something like that, what are we talking about? This is the only reason why I respect him. As a businessman, and I know some people who have actually worked for him in New York over the years before he went into politics. So, more so than I respect Kamala Harris, if we're talking politics, I know at least he will be willing to sit down at the table with a group of black people and really discuss some of the issues that we have on that we want to talk about. The other lady, just like Obama said, I'm a president for everybody. Okay, well, that includes us too, But you'll pass a law for LGBT, you'll pass a law for Asians, you'll pass a law for everybody, all these other groups, but you won't. But when you start talking about passing something specifically for black people, you start talking about, well, I'm a president for everybody. This is the only thing that I was there in the 90s when she passed the 3 strikes you're outlaw. Where people, were getting life sentences for like petty burglary, and then a violation on the third strike would be something like a parole violation or a probation violation or weed in your system, and you get violated, and then you end up doing getting a life sentence, shit like that.
And what do you think would actually help those offenders and repeat offenders?
That's a multiple answers the question, multiple fold. Okay, one for one.
Well, we need to discuss
I think
it,
that has to be
how to eliminate that from.
I think that for one, while they're in there, if you're in jail, it shouldn't just be a housing facility. It should be a rehabilitation facility. Okay, where you should be rehabilitated. And first of all, they need to be segregated. There are different levels to this game, to this shit. You got some guys, they'll never be rehabilitated. They as soon as they get back out, they're going to commit another crime. They were committing crimes when they were young.
So the jail should be separated not into the level of the crime. You're saying it should be separated based on
according to your mental, your
right.
aptitude, okay, according to your aptitude and your propensity for rehabilitation. Okay, if your remorse or just there's some guys that have done some terrible things, but if they got a second chance, they wouldn't go back. Get me wrong, we're not totally destitute as a people. Well, like you said, we did trillions of dollars, and there are probably more millionaires now than there, that ever been. But these millionaires, these paper millionaires. These are paper millionaires. Yeah. Okay, these new money niggas.
Yeah, they don't have that generational wealth yet. So
there's no generational wealth.
I have someone tell me, you know what? There's a difference between being rich and there's a difference between being wealthy.
Wealthy
is the type of money that you have that your family, your generations are going to feel. Rich is what you're going to experience, and when you care, all that's going to get eaten up. What people don't realize is, when you die, there's still things you have to pay for. You still have to pay taxes. You still have to pay for all the accounts that you have when you were alive. You're still responsible for all of that. It doesn't just go away. You died.
We've seen many of these athletes make millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars during their career, and as soon as they retire, within years, they're damn near bankrupt. Okay, within a few years.
Even some of the rappers and the musicians that, you pay for me to do music with coming up, what I'm saying? A lot of those people are broke now. Or poor.
Well, they weren't making the money that they're making now, though, too. A lot of these cats, they were on these, like your TLCs, man, they had sold 1 million copies of records, but, I can remember Lisa coming to, man, we waiting on our royalty check. I ain't got no money. Broke. Dead ass broke. Dead ass broke. Front me a bag, G. Give me a bag, G. Smoke one with me. I ain't got nothing. They had to pull a gun on they folks, on their label, because they weren't getting paid, and their contract,
really
they were making pennies.
They did that instead of going to get a lawyer. You see how bad they was hurting.
So they signed contracts. And a lot of these, and just like a lot of these cats now, everything they got is basically leased. Is owned by the record label. They can have a big house. You can have cars. That shit's owned by the label. What we were saying about grassroots, you seems to me you even though you're more conservative and everything like that. Our people have always been conservative, for one, but we always had a grassroots, a connection to the grassroots, and that's where the disconnect is from. It's not between the rich and the middle class. It's between the middle class and those in the impoverished. Okay, that's where the disconnect is. That's where the disconnect is.
Because we know where the agendas are being pushed from. We know where the lobbying is being pushed from. So we don't even have to worry about that. Now let's talk to the working class. Let's talk to the lower class. And most people are
underclass, man.
But the lower class makes up the majority of the vote in the Democrat districts, and most of those, and the middle class majority in those Republican districts.
Right.
So,
what has happened is it's upside down. Mm-hmm.
Yes, it is. Okay, let me listen. Tell me something. Okay, it's upside down. What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean that it's the street culture, the underclass has become mainstream. Is popular. Is the pop culture, leading pop culture. Okay, before we had people like Gil Scott-Heron and all these James Baldwins and Nina Simone's and people of this that would lead pop culture, okay, with intelligent, intellectual people, okay, that were leading pop culture. Now we got people who hadn't even finished high school, dropped out in 10th grade,
and